Just a little update from my perspective. Let's find the share button here. I've just been working on the remote control. As a reminder, I had been using a handheld remote control and a separate e-stop that was only really good for about 50 feet, maybe. Yeah, probably about 50 feet. And so I was trying to switch to a LoRa based remote control plus e-stop, and so I moved to this LoRa ESP board that would have provide the remote control and e-stop in one tool. I just was trying to use something to get started and use some sample code to get this BME280 to work. Displayed, I don't know how well you can see that, but temperature, humidity, and pressure. I also just played around with adding a light sensor to it, and I also had another temperature sensor on it. If I moved this thing someplace I didn't want to, I put another temperature sensor on it just to sort of test out having other sensors on it. So I've been able to get all that to work, I think, at the moment. I've used, let's see, the I2, is it I2C? I don't know.
It's whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I've used these two pins. I've used this pin. I've used, put a light sensor there and use those two pins. And there's still others that are available, but that's pretty much what I've consumed so far. So on the available pins, those with arrows are, that arrow moved around. Those with arrows are unavailable because I've now used them. Oops, daisy. Yeah, I've now messed that up. So I still have some other pins to be able to make use of. So, and am I sharing my screen?
Yes, you are.
Okay. This is what it, is that going to focus? It's not focusing. Oh, I know. I've got that blur thing going on. Turn that blur thing off. I just put it in a, whatever that foam core is, just to try to get the sizing down, and was going to, in here, I was just going to put some LiPo batteries in and see how long 3 18650 batteries would power it, just for chuckles. And then was thinking to put a dead man push button there, and mode switch, if you will, there, because I'm thinking like I've got throttle, steering, maybe, put an LED about a status, a push button for dead man, a switch for the mode, an e-stop switch. And I don't know if I can do a soft reset on the ESP-32 that's on the I don't know if I'm going to do a soft reset on these or not, but I don't know, it might be good to have a reset button on these. Well, there's a reset button, but if it were sort of buried below, I was just sort of thinking through that. I was going to post the code that I have so far in GIST, but I haven't gotten around to doing that yet. But I'll do that next chance I get. So that's where I've sort of been at. I had to deal with, I was using a power bank to turn it on, but the power bank turned itself off and was sort of fighting with that. Let's see. Oh, I had the code I did enable CRC. So my code does have that. It's also going to measure the battery voltage, so I save some write-ups around measuring the battery voltage. And then I also implemented in my code using the key code, which I'm assuming doesn't make it private, and certainly doesn't encrypt it, but it does keep from like annoying the neighbors if they want to use LoRa too. If I transmit with my particular key code. So yeah, it's been fun, but that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at the moment. So the next thing on this would be, I guess, go ahead and connect the other unit to the laptop and implement, some sort of basic code to say, I'm here, and implement a mode switch and test the mode switch, and get into actually controlling the motor from that. Oh, and a question I was going to ask you, I think I know the answer, but I was going to ask you, so like if I'm over like this, I mean, this potentiometer doesn't, the value that I get, it doesn't, it gets to over voltage. It doesn't go the full range before it gets to over voltage, I guess is probably the best way to put it. So I need to put a resistor.
What is that connected to? How do you have that wired up?
5-volt supply from the board.
Well, then change it to your 3.3 volt supply from the board, and that'll fix your problem.
So
Assuming
just,
it's got a 3.3 volt output on that board.
yeah, it does.
But that'll fix your problem if you just run on 3.3 instead of 5.
So that's where I'm at.
So does that board have direct input for those LiPo batteries, or is it you just gonna hook them up anyway?
It does have direct input. It has on the back side of it, it has J13. See if I have a picture of it. What do they call it? A J13 connector or something like that?
JST, I think is what it was called.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, JST.
Does it also do charging? Sometimes if they go to the trouble, put the connector on there, it'll have a charger built into the board, so you can also use it to charge your batteries.
I don't know. I saw one advertisement saying it had a charging circuitry, but I didn't do an exhaustive search on it, but I haven't found any documentation. I was on their website. Let's see. Let's see. No, that's not theirs. Seemed to me I found this particular, I mean, there's people who built the board was marketed by this company called TTGO. So I don't know who would have put the lithium power circuit on there. Anyway, to answer your question, I saw one reference to having that on there, but I didn't. Trying to remember where I did with the. If no, that's not this one.
But you could go to, say, Nerd Tutorials or whatever that company's called, and just, yeah, right there, random nerd tutorials. And there's talking about power with solar panels. Maybe just go to their website and search for charging, and they might have articles where he set that up and hooked up batteries to it.
Yeah.
Or just go out on Google and type in the name of your board and LiPo charging and see, or LiPo battery. And there's probably people will tell you how to do it, tell you what it does and what it doesn't do.
And I've seen different references to the operating voltage too. Like these guys, I mean, they call it, I mean, this one, they have a Wemos TTGO board, and they said the operating voltage was 3.3 to 7. Yeah, I haven't, not everybody says it's 7.
It also says in the description, it says lithium battery charging circuit. So that,
yeah,
I don't know how you see the different boards. I don't know if it's how close they are to each other, or sometimes it'll be the exact board, they just put a different name on it, and other times, they put different little things on the boards. So
yeah, I'm like, I don't know who to trust with this stuff. But this one, I mean, definitely looks exactly like the board that I have. Which is the one that says it has the, this is the one that, other than, I mean, it says it's the 868, which is, but it has this How did you power yours?
I just have one of those USB charging batteries. So it just plugs into the USB and powers it through that.
And yours drew enough that it stayed on, or did you have to jigger yours around to keep it to stay on?
A lot of it depends on what battery you buy. Some of them work better than others. And if you pay attention, you can get, you might stumble on one, we'll put it that way, that it's smart enough that as soon as you plug the cable in, it powers up. And if you unplug the cable, it will power down. And some of them won't do that. Some of them you have to, plug the cable in, you have to push the button to power it up and all kinds of other funny stuff. But the particular one I've got, in fact, I think the one that's in there right now is one that as a Danfoss promotional. They're giving away a battery pack that said Danfoss on the side of it just for advertising. And that one seems to work, does everything I need it to. So I can just walk up to it and flip the power switch on. I just cut the USB cable and cut the red lead in there, which is the power, and put a toggle switch there. So that's what I use to turn my thing on and off. So when I flip the switch on, the battery pack says, oh, I've got a load now, and it goes ahead and powers up and runs. And when I'm all done, I just flip the switch off, and in like 10 to 20 seconds later, the battery pack shuts off. So I'm pretty happy with that one. And I bought one at Menards one time, of all places, that seemed to work that same way. But some of them don't work real well. I got some little square ones. I don't have one right here, I don't think.
But after 10 to 20 seconds, what do you do? Because that's mine shuts off after 10 to 20 seconds.
As long as I keep it plugged in and turned on, everybody's happy, so it works just fine. Then when I'm all done, I turn the switch off, and then it just automatically turns itself off.
Yeah, mine, even if it's plugged in, after 20 seconds turns off.
You might just need a different battery pack, or you could put some kind of a load across it, and the where it plugs into your board. Put some kind of a load. Even just like say, try just an LED and a resistor and see if that's enough of a load to keep it on. And that way you would see, you'd have a visual indication that something's going on. Otherwise, just pick some random value resistor, relatively low value resistor, and see what it takes to load it enough to keep the battery happy. If you have other battery packs laying around, just try a different one and see if you can get a different one to work, because I think that's part of it. You just have to get one that's happy with doing that. Is that a particularly large battery? Is that maybe that's the thing? It just assumes that you're gonna have big stuff plugged into it, and that's why it's doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's an 8-cell. I mean, it has 18650 cells in it, so it's a good size pack. But what I was just going to do, because this will fit 3 18650s nicely, so I was just going to cut take and slide them in there and just power it that way, and I'll just pull them out and recharge them whenever I need to.
Because if that does have the charging circuit built in, then I think you just plug in the USB cable, and then it takes the power from the USB and charges the batteries. So that's one less thing you would have to do. You wouldn't have to take the batteries out, but you have to figure out some way. Do you have a power switch in between there, or does the board have a power switch on it? So you can just put say a toggle switch in between the batteries and the board, and that way when you go to use it, just turn the switch on, and everybody should be happy. And if that works, and if you want to charge it, then you'd have to turn the switch on and then plug the USB cable in. That would then possibly charge your batteries for you.
I wonder what voltage, though, it would take it up to.
I don't know.
Because if it says the operating voltage is if it says it's 3.3 to 7, well, if it says lithium battery charging circuit,
Up the top, there's a tab that says tutorials. Is there anything under that that talks about wiring it up to the top of the page there?
Oh my gosh, there's 6 pages of that.
But if they put charging circuitry on the board and it's meant to hook up to the lithium batteries, then I assume that it's got an up converter that takes the 5 volts in and does what it takes to charge your batteries, as long as they're within whatever range it's expecting. But it would be good if you can find somebody that will tell you ahead of time that says, this is what you should do. You should use this kind of battery, wired up like this, and they might give you some details on that.
Um, yeah, I'm not sure they're talking about the same board. Anyway. That would be interesting. I guess you could measure the voltage. I mean, let's see what sort of output is voltage is coming out of that. All right.
Coming out of what?
The with the if the USB is plugged in, wouldn't you expect a voltage on those pins?
I don't know. Depends how smart the charging circuit is as to whether it's going to do that or not. But again, if you can find somebody that says, I did this and it works, you know, you're probably farther ahead than. In fact, you can find several people saying they got it to work. Then see if they're all doing it the same way, or somebody says, no, yeah, I tried this, but it doesn't work. So that'd be something to look at.
Yeah, not a ton of people talking about that. Talking about that board. Anyway, that's what's going on.
got an email from RG Simple today, and they're saying, oh, let's see, what's this going to do? RG Simple field test, blah, blah, blah. How much crap is in here? So I can get a link to post here that it's not, it doesn't have too much embarrassing information in it. Copy that, put it there. Control V. It's also one of these things they sent me the email. Usually it'll say, oh, if you want to view this on a web page, click this link. And they don't seem to have that. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what this does. Well, it came up. So I'll post that. Let's see how to get to my chat here. Chat. A guy did a study on using cheap GPS. So he used the RG Simple and the MLID and something else. And he did a lot of testing. He drove around the state and did all kinds of stuff. So let's see, ARD Simple. What would I call this? Review. Anyway, I'm going to call it a review, even though it's not. And is this going to work? Let's see if I click on that and come up. But he did some pretty extensive testing. He's like an engineer at some, I don't know if he's at a company or university, but he decided he's going to get rid of his old stuff and go to some of the new dual band stuff. And he's got this big long, actually, then if you go down into this link, here let me see what this does. Yeah, copy that, go back to chat. This link takes you directly to the report that the guy wrote. And he talks about, you know, how he built his setup and various things that he tested and just all kinds. It's just interesting stuff reading through whether you have those particular boards or not. But he was doing it, you know, for I don't know if he got a grant or whatever to do this, but he went through and published all this stuff. So let's see.
Both of the reports are on the same boards.
Just the whole thing is he's talking about using the RG Simple, and he's talking about using the MLID and something else too, I think. Let me see if I can get this to come up. So this is the website. Yeah, I assume you can see that.
I can, because I was looking through.
So just on the abstract, he tells you what he's doing, and then it goes on for several pages. So it's just some interesting information in there. And it is on a what's the GIS Science and Remote Sensing. So it's this Taylor and Francis online. I don't know who that is, but apparently it's people that publish papers that people submit. So, you know, it looks like it's valid information. It's not just some guy in his basement hacking like I'm doing. So that might be something worth looking at.
Did you learn anything new?
In that article?
Yeah.
I didn't read it real hard. I just scanned through it this morning when it showed up. So I haven't looked at too much.
I'm just scanning. So I'm looking at the one from Tan online. So we looked at RDO Simple, RTK2 Blight.
Well, the thing on the RG Simple website is just them saying, you know, combining it. Say this guy did this stuff, and they used our parts, and then down at the bottom there's a link that says, "Here's the actual report." That's the second link that I posted is the actual report. I did
Yeah.
notice, he said something like they checked 46 different sites, it's like throughout the state. And he said, but we didn't use these, and one of them was because there was a car parked on top of the monument, and another one was because there was a fire ant hill had was over the top of the thing, so they didn't poke with that one. And there were several others, they'd either been damaged or destroyed, or they just couldn't get to it or whatever. So I thought that was kind of an interesting statement.
Didn't want to deal with the fire ants.
Apparently not. We don't have fire ants here, so I don't know how nasty they are.
They are very nasty. And did he get, I haven't noticed, did he get corrections from a public thing, or did he make his own corrections?
He was getting it from the South Carolina, the statewide service. So it's like I do in Minnesota, but he's getting it from South Carolina. And he talked about using some kind of a radio modem to talk to it.
Wonder how far away he was.
Well, he goes into great detail. So if you really want to know, it'll tell you in there. Although one of them said 96 meters. I thought, how can he only be 96 meters away from the reference site? But maybe their college or wherever he works, maybe they're the ones that putting the data out. Maybe that's how he could be so close to it.
Yeah, that's like on top of it. Neat. I have never personally ever seen one of these. I'm looking at the picture of the thing buried in the ground like you found up in Minnesota. Well, I think you found the remnants of one, right? Or did you find one that was still intact?
I found one that was pristine, but now it's behind a fence that I can't get to. And then I found this one that I think it's the road construction ripped it up, but I think the original rod is still in the same spot, but it got pulled up about 6 inches and then bent over. But when I was checking it, it looked like, you know, it was still usable enough for me just to validate that my stuff says, yes, this is where you are. So that was okay.
That's pretty neat.
And you can pull up a list. You go to I don't remember where I found it, but you can just, you know, talk about your state and put the GIS and markers or survey markers, and it'll give you a list of where they are and give you a map. And sometimes they, like when they build a bridge, they stick one in the concrete, like on the sidewalk of the bridge. They put them all over places. So you just have to find one that's close to you and then go play with it. As long as it doesn't have fire ants on it, or as long as that's not behind a fence.
Anything else going on in your world?
I don't think so.
Anything else on your to-do list?
Not immediately.
I didn't look at Slack. Did Bob have any other questions about looking at my other machine? Do you have any other questions?
I didn't see anything new show up, but for some reason the extra thread that's on that last thing you posted, for some reason Slack didn't bother to tell me about it, so I just kind of stumbled on it. I don't know why. So it's got the two replies to the last thing you posted where Bob's saying, how well does it work? And you gave him some numbers. And so I don't think there's anything new on that.
Yeah, from my perspective, I mean, we're not trying to control a drone with a Hellfire missile on it, right? It's just something moving at 5 miles an hour or so.
You could add some missiles to your lawn tractor.
To what?
You could add some missiles to your lawn tractor.
Yeah, I guess we could.
4th of July is coming up. Just get some of those big skyrocket things and put on there. And
I would be happy with just cutting grass. I'm trying to say, you said it cut something off. I'm trying to look at it.
what's that?
You said Slack cut something off?
Oh, it didn't tell me that there were the replies to that last thing you had posted. If I look at it, look at it on the page, down the bottom, it says 2 replies, and there's, so I could tell something had happened, but if I go look at threads, on the tabs where it says view, what do you call it? It's just simply called threads. If I look at it there, it doesn't show up there. So I don't know. I don't understand what's going on. Slack just baffles me from time to time.
So I was just trying to think through how to make sort of lower a break, if you will, just sort of figure out where it. Did you ever get like CRC errors on yours or anything? I mean, have you ever tried to break it, so to speak?
No. The only thing I can think of is just walk far enough that it just quits, just stops talking. And I haven't really done that. As I said a couple of times, I'm not looking to see what my maximum range is I can get out of it, because I plan to just follow mine around close enough that if I need to, I can hit the manual e-stop on it. So I'm not worried about it being, half a mile away or something. I'm not as crazy as Kyler is, where he turns his loose, he turns 2 tractors loose, and then goes back to the barn to get something to drink, and then comes back out. And so I'm not sure. He's probably got some more stories if you corner him on that. He does have a few stories that are a little frightening.
When you have 1,600 acres to let things roam, I think you're it's like a big blue ocean. You have a lot of open space. Okay. Well, I will let you go.